All right, so here we go. We're going to get started on this painting. I am working outside and I have strapped it down. Last time I worked outside, the wind came up unexpected and blew my canvas into my palette. And I don't want that to happen again, so that's my precaution there. I don't know if the intro to this is going to show up on the video, so I'll just do it again. This is a commission I'm doing, and every painting kind of has a story. And for my client, this story kind of started with a beautiful field of flowers and a horse. And so what I'm attempting to do is a composite of bringing a horse and the field of flowers together. This is a 20 by 20 gallery view canvas, which means the sides will be painted. And so anyway, I'm going to get started. So I'm going to start with the drawing, which I sort of already started it earlier, just for a little bit. I mean, it'll take me a minute to get warmed up here. So I always start with the ears. Okay. This is like a number, oh, this is called a 0. It's a 0 brush. It's called a bright, which means the bristles are really short, and these are really short because they are totally worn down. This guy has a really nice mane. Usually an ear to an eye measurement. Ears width length is about to the eye, where the eye would be. Okay. And then another length like that usually puts us right at there's like a sinus cavity that comes down. Hope you can hear me. I think I'm mumbling. Okay. And then there's some foreshortening on the nose, which means his nose is closer because he's looking at us. Okay. Not into detail, just trying to get my placement. I call this my sketch and my placement. And I'm gonna wear this. This is a rough texture canvas. I'll have to watch not wearing out my brushes because it is definitely coarse. I'm used to working with what's called a fine texture canvas because I work in a lot of portraits, and the fine texture canvas and on my canvas pads they're usually that fine texture. This one is definitely coarse. I'm not going to put in a lot of detail because if I happen to get this all placed wrong, I don't want to have to redo a lot of detail. So placement is what I'm after. This horse is nicely relaxed in a field, and that's what I want to get at this point. And the feet and the hocks are more difficult here. He's got his belly comes down through here, and he has a foot tucked underneath him there. Let's come back over here. Get a shoulder. And he's foreshortened right here too. His leg comes out, but it's like his big old knee joint, I call the knee, is right here. And then the leg comes this way. Knees are like squares. But then this comes back up, angles back towards us. And a hoof. Okay. Got a shoulder out here. Chest. Horses have massive chest muscles. So in his leg, this leg comes up into here. It's back a little bit more, I think. Yeah. Hoof. Actually, this is back up in here where his leg. Here it comes. And because I'm putting flowers down in here, I'm not really going to worry about the detail of what's happening right there. Laying on his tail. Okay, so there's my horse, at least most of him. Okay. This is going to be bigger. And you see, I just treat my paintbrush like a pencil, just kind of a loose sketching in. I'm not coming in and going, oh, let's get this just right. Like I said, I call this my freedom brush, and I like to keep it free. Yeah. Okay. So then I know my flowers that I will be putting in here that I'm just going to kind of start laying them on. Right? You have to use your imagination with me here. And you won't know until I put the colors in what they're going to look like. However, I will be adding values, which is from lights to dark. Right now, I'm just getting my composition in. And part of the composition is going to be how far up this field of flowers does go. But this whole thing is going to be all just a bunch of flowers all the way down through here. And right at the moment, I'm just placing this sweet horse into a suggestion of flowers. There's a little bit of different attitude going into a painting when you're doing it for somebody else, but you still have to be yourself, right? I just have to paint how I paint, and just hope we have a meeting of the minds when it's all done. I was undecided whether to put a tulip in here or not. Still undecided. I think I'm going to run this field of flowers like back up into here in the distance, and they would definitely be a lot smaller. And I can't let this strap get in my way of what I'm thinking. The flowers would be taller in the foreground, right? We've got stems and stalks. They're tallest down in here. Whatever stems and stalks we have. If we have any leaves, they're bigger through here. And a lot less back through there. Gotta shake it up, move it around a little bit. So here's a general idea. I do need to make sure, which is hard for me to do because my face is right in the camera over here, but I do need to make sure that I pay attention to the sides. Okay? So I'm going to grab a bigger brush, a filbert. So I want to come in and start laying in the values. And I'm going to use a bigger brush for the bigger areas. This is like a number 7 filbert. I've also picked a number 2 filbert. And so with this brush, I'm going to start bringing in some of my values. Values are just from lights to darks. I always start with the darks. Holding the brush like a baton, laying it on its side. The values give us the form, not the lines. I say that. So what I'm just looking for is the shapes of the darks. Okay, that's how I refer to them. Shapes of the darks. there's a little breeze. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a breeze right into his hair, his mane. You paint the way things grow. I'll come back over that later because once I paint the sky in, it will have to be readdressed. But right now, I just want to get in my darks. This is definitely shoulder work. This is a dry canvas, or a coarse canvas. I'm not quite used to dealing with such a coarse canvas, but it's okay. You work with what you got. I couldn't go to the store myself, and I was fortunate enough to get somebody to deliver a canvas out to me all the way from downtown. 30-minute delivery, 30 to 40-minute delivery for them. So I'm really grateful. I am not going to complain about this at all. Just looking where the shadows are. It also helps identify the muscles. I'm only good for about 30 minutes at a time here, so notice I put in the form before I put in even like the eyes, detail in the eyes. Starts to help build the horse's face, the shape, right? You can kind of hear a bird in the background. It's a quail. And those quails, they have like 10, 11 babies. So it's been kind of fun. Just looking for the shape of the shadows and the degree of darkness. So he's starting to take shape. I never get real excited about anything. Wow, motorcycle. Busy day. Oh well. Gotta stay focused. I'm just happy to be outside, and it's just a nice breeze. We've been getting in the 90s, and so I've got a short window here that I can comfortably darkest darks are in his chest. I'm on this side away from the lights. And so I'm going to tone this all down in these values because our lightest lights are over in here, and anything less than that, I want to make sure I have it right. Darkest dark is over here. And then there's a secondary light goes up in here. Okay. Same with his face. This side of his face is in the shadows. And there's some darker areas and lighter areas, but pretty much all this. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit smaller brush. My number 2. I think it was a flat. It is a filbert. Okay. Here comes the wind. So we'll work a little longer, but we may get blown out here. And the only reason I'm coming back in with the details is because I'm really happy with the placement. I'm okay with it. But all the way through here, we will be, as always, redrawing. But let me go back to his face. And his ears are bigger than this. That's what always happens to me, is I always end up having paintings grow, faces grow. It happens in portraits all the time, where it's just like, it's better to start smaller and go bigger, because it just naturally seems to do that. I don't know if that's happened to any of you, but always seems to happen to me. I'm just, I'm kind of into suggesting things. I'm not into coming in and giving a lot of high edge detail, especially not at this point. Okay, pretty okay with that. Right? And his nostril, he's really sniffing here. He's got his nostril flared pretty good. So, any kind of portrait to me is like poaching an egg. You kind of sneak up on things, right? Just kind of sneaking up on this guy. I'm just looking at shapes of the values, shapes of the darks are going to give me his unique personality, his features, his expression. Almost lost him. Just sneaking up on me. Shapes of the darks. Some horses have like little whiskers right down in here, and they look like Groucho Marx. They have like a little mustache. Okay, he is coming along sweet enough. Mailman's putting a mail in the box up on the ditch. Okay. I don't get the values in. Get the bone structure going in anybody's portrait. Their faces look big and flat. Alright, do a little bit more over here. Horses have their eyes on the sides of their face, of their heads, because they are not a predator. They are, and so they can see to the sides of them very easily. Predator animals have their eyes up front, like people do, more so in the front of our heads. Horses and non-predator type animals, their eyes are on the sides, so they can turn their head either direction and see completely behind them, to see what's going on, so they can kind of watch their rear. Okay. So I'm thinking this is a good place to stop this session. It gets to be too long, but painting video, and also I need to give myself a break. This works better for me if I don't just paint and paint and paint and paint. I used to, and I actually have painting injuries. My feet. I'm sitting too. I used to stand, which I won't do anymore. But I really hurt myself. Okay, and I will probably make his eyes a little bigger as I go. But for now, I think this is an excellent beginning. We did the sketch, and the composition is in. Nothing is perfect or set in stone, right? Nothing is. And then we put the values in, the darkest darks and halftones, and didn't paint the lights. And there's plenty more that can happen in that area. But the picture's in, the story's happening. When I come back, I'm probably going to paint the sky next, because that sets the mood and the temperature. And we already can see where the light is, because the horse is capturing the light and the shadows, which reminds me that we didn't do this over here. This should be more in a halftone. And we lost his little knee knuckle over here. That once we put the value back in, and I'm going to get this knee belt back in. Okay. And you see I just scrambled over the flowers I put in. It's not a big deal. It'll all make sense in the end, but in the beginning we just kind of want to start the story. It's kind of our outline. So we'll get back after a bit.